My name is Giles Smith, and welcome to our community. What exactly is Veterans Court?
A Veterans Court is a program that's a multifaceted collaborative effort with the courts, the prosecution, the Public Defender's Office, Veterans Affairs, VA hospitals, and other organizations that deal with veterans that are coming back from war with post-traumatic stress disorders and get into trouble in the criminal justice system. And we've identified those individuals that need specific treatment, and because they have unique issues associated with their problems, and therefore they're handled by a specific judge in a specific court that's well suited to handle those specific issues.
So why was this program developed?
Well, it was developed back in 2010 when I was running for the Office of District Attorney. When I traveled throughout the county and talked to groups and folks, first of all, I realized and appreciated that Riverside County has the third largest veterans population in the state of California. Almost 135,000 individuals, veterans, live in this county. And also that there was a need for a veterans court. LA County had one, Orange County had one. We did not. San Diego County had one, and we did not in Riverside. And so I felt that, having been a judge myself for 11 years, and I presided over the mental health court in Riverside County courts for a period of time, I appreciated and understood the dramatic need to have a dedicated veterans court to deal with our vets.
So exactly how does this program work?
Well, when a veteran comes into contact with the criminal justice system, whether it be oftentimes because of their alcoholic abuse issues or their drug-related issues or DUIs, or even domestic violence situations, if they're identified as suffering from post-traumatic stress related to their involvement in the military, then they qualify for treatment under the Veterans Court program. We assign them to the Veterans Court, and they plead guilty to the charges. It's a post-plea program wherein in felony matters, they have to go through an intensive 18-month program where they deal with their drug or alcohol abuse situation, psychiatric or psychological issues. We can get them temporary housing. We work on getting them jobs and employed and training. In misdemeanor cases, it's an intensive 6-month program.
Right.
So that when they graduate, which we're going to see later today, they can go back into society and function as hopefully productive, normal human beings.
Well, it sounds like a very robust program. What is the recidivism rate?
Well, our program is only, we're ending the second year, so it's too early to tell. In our first graduating class, thank goodness no one has reoffended. But again, time will be the true barometer and the telling factor. But we think the program is very worthwhile, and so far we haven't had anybody reoffend.
That's outstanding. Well, why is this program so important to our community?
Well, again, I think it's important to our community. First of all, we owe it to the vets.
Right.
They have sacrificed and dedicated certain significant portions of their lives to protect and serve us. And therefore, when they come back with mental health issues, substance abuse issues, we can't ignore it, nor should we. And I think since we have the third highest population of vets in the state of California, next to LA and San Diego County, we need to address those issues and concerns, and that's why I was strongly advocating for this collaborative approach, because that's the only way you're going to do it. You have to have the court buy-in, and having come from the bench as a Superior Court judge for 11 years, I had a lot of credibility with the judges, and they understood and appreciated the problem or situation. And I approached those judges who are either active military in the reserves or were previous vets.
Right.
And I got them on board with my thoughts and ideas in that regard, and they helped support the program as well.
And this program works with probation as well.
Probation is an integral part of as well as county mental health, Veterans Affairs. Again, it's truly a collaborative effort. And American University, back on the East Coast, is looking at our program to use as a national model for veterans courts throughout the country.
Well, I hear that this is the best run program in the state.
Well, we've received 2 national awards in recognition for our program, and it's still in its infancy. We're only in the 2nd year. So whatever we're doing it right.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Today I was walking by dogs in the hills, and I was actually out in kind of this remote area, and there was this canyon where there was echoes on either side, and I was so enthusiastic about what we were going to be doing today that I began to just yell with glee and excitement. The words were unintelligible, and let me tell you, nothing leaves this room, so I'm quite embarrassed. Please, something has to be ever, please not repeat the story I just said. But the reason I was so enthusiastic, and I ask you to share my enthusiasm today, is it doesn't get much better than this. We are here on a very special day to celebrate the drawing together of this community with one goal in mind, that of supporting our United States veterans. So how about a round of applause? So with that, we are honored today to have our first featured speaker, Congressman Takano.
Berlin, we talked about the freedom to and the freedom from. And the paradox of freedom is you sort of need both. You need freedom from an oppressive government. You need freedom from oppressive institutions. People who want to put a clamp down on our ability to think freely. But we also need freedom to initiate, freedom to be disciplined, freedom to be responsible, freedom to be connected to a community. You need to be self-controlled. And the funny thing about being self-controlled and being in control of yourself is you can't do it alone. It's not about this kind of rigid, autonomy is not some rigid state where you're all by yourself, controlling yourself. We need the resources of each other. All minds need to be in communication with other minds, such that the objective of all minds being in communication with all minds is so that each individual mind is in control of itself. Each individual being is in control of him or herself. Judge Johnson said about the cost of incarceration, the cost of filling people up, filling our jails up. We simply can't sustain it any longer. I would much rather spend that money on education, which truly does free people's minds. It gives you the freedom to do things. And our nation, collectively, as a nation, we have much to gain by the skills that you have learned in the military, by the discipline, that if you return that sense of discipline, that return a sense of mission and pride in the service, the branch of service that you were a part of, bring that ethos, return to that ethos. We need you. I totally believe in leave no service member behind. As Judge Johnson said, take it as your obligation to prove that this works. We need so much to have evidence that people can turn their lives around. You are striking a blow for freedom in a new and deep way when you succeed and you make a contribution to our society. Thank you. It's an honor and privilege to be your representative in Congress. You are in my thoughts every day. And look for me next week as I manage some new bills to benefit veterans on the floor of the House of Representatives. It's an honor to serve in that committee. And thank you. God bless you. Godspeed to all of you.
we have a real treat now. Our next speaker, our keynote speaker, is going to be Seymore Kaplan. Let me give you a little bit of his background. He was a field mechanic in World War II, serving with the 2nd, 14th, and 4th Army Divisions in North Africa, Italy, and France during World War II.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really honored to be here today. I'm very humbled that the judge invited me down to this today. All you know, I said, the only dignitaries, audience, God bless you for being here, and all veterans. Looking back before I enlisted, I'll make this as short as I can because there's other speakers. Looking back before I enlisted in our great army of the United States, I was a young and rough kid. I did not take any BS from anybody. I came from New York where you had to learn to defend yourself on the streets. And in short, I learned what life is and what it's all about. Since then, we went to tank school, as Ron has said, and I'll skip over that. Said most of it, which I appreciate, Your Honor. I was with Colonel Kaplan. He was one of the best generals that the United States Army ever had. He was a real tough SOB. But everybody thought he did not have a heart because he was so mean to all of his veterans soldiers. That's not true. That is not true. He wanted you to think that he was tough, but he had a heart of gold. This general saved over 1 million lives with the way he conducted himself in World War II. As the runner said, hit him, you know what I mean? No, don't want to fill up the gas tanks in the sector. We had gas thrown into us by DC-73s, dropping 5-gallon cans so that we could go. So we finally ran out of gas. But we kept on going. We got through that. We had hand-to-hand combat, which we lost a lot of good young kids. I was lucky that I came back with all fours. So we went ahead and we went further up the line, went into Sicily. Actually, we cleaned up Passerine Pass. As Anna said, the first time it was a rough deal. And we had a lot of young guys with us that were well trained this time. The first time around the Passerine Pass, we lost thousands of young soldiers, young kids that could have been there today. Anything, engineers, president, you name it, big business, but they lost their lives. We lost them. Having said that, we wound up with a Liberty ship from the British, and we had a Missouri after that. We loaded up. We cleaned everybody out, landing in Missouri for this, and we started for Sicily. Now, General Patton was in the 2nd Corps, 2nd Army Division. He cleaned out that whole African coast before any American hit North Africa. He was in the 2nd Corps. By the time we got there, that place was clean except a few places where we had to clean out Germans in pockets. But we did. Anyway, we wound up in Sicily. Before we knew it, we didn't hear any more about Patton. But Patton was in Sicily. They wiped out Sicily. They cleaned all the Germans out of Sicily. They stopped our British boat in the middle of the Mediterranean. We were heading for the Messina Straits. They said, stop, head for the boot of Italy. We wound up in Naples. We asked why. Oh, Italy's not there, no more Germans in Sicily. And what happened? Oh, General Patton was here. Anyway, we went up the boot, and what Zana did say, we got into these warehouses that we got into. There were shops there with all these balloons up there to keep them from coming in. We wound up in this warehouse. There was such a smell here all night long. We said, we gotta find out what's going on in here. We dug about 3 foot of straw from the floor of that warehouse. You know what we found that smelled? Big cartwheels of Parmesan cheese. This is true. We found that warehouse must have been 100 feet by at least 75 feet wide, filled 3 foot thick with Parmesan cheese. They hid it from the jungle. Yeah. Anyway, we went up the line, and as Anna said, we lined up in Dijon, France. We moved the general hospital up there, and they divided us into a platoon, which I'm happy to say I had a platoon, but now I have 26 platoons listening to me. But the thing of it is, we wound up in the Vermont Bridge, and I got transferred into the combat engineers, and we learned how to put barely bridges across the Rhine River, which was a swift river. But having said all this, when we got to the Vermont Bridge, that bridge was so loaded with dynamite, we couldn't figure out why that bridge didn't go down. The thing that is, that the last tank infantryman that went across that bridge fell down. And all of our men got across that bridge unscathed. So we had some guys got hurt. But speaking about our veterans, I am a veterans advocate. I love our veterans because we're all fellow brothers and sisters veterans. And I have to tell you, I have the deepest, profoundest respect for veterans because we all stuck together. They are itself in America. They are true Americans. Everyone that here is a veteran. We honor them. Now, I want to end this speech. I've got to tell you a little something before I sign off. Thinking about every man and woman that was in service, whether they were up front or in the rear echelon, were all 100% veterans. The thing about it was, combatants or non-combatants, they kept the supplies coming, no matter what it was. We needed our people. Were backing us up all the time. Even chocolate cake came back from back home. And here I am in Sun City, enjoying myself. Palm Desert, 75 years later. I went in at 17. I came out as a man going on 50. But I have to say this about our veterans. You gentlemen and ladies, you did the right thing by standing up and flying right. This is the best program that I have seen so far for the veterans. You've got a good second chance. Today you're going to be honored. Don't spoil what Riverside County and its honor and the people here did for you, because you really got a second chance. But this, going straight, you don't break up your families, you don't cause no divorces, you don't cause any problems. Live, pull up your bootstraps, and fly right. And I'm finally, when I got to say to you, one thing, I can find it. I have this to say to you, and I'm going to say it very strongly. And I want you to remember this and keep it, every mind of yours that's a veteran, or that was a veteran. It is the veteran, not the preacher, who has given us freedom of religion. It is the veteran, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the veteran, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the veteran, not the campus organizer, who has given us freedom to assemble. It is the veteran, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the veteran, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the veteran who salutes the flag, who serves under the flag, whose coffin is draped by the flag. It is the veteran to whom we owe our freedom, rights, and thanks. God love you, stay healthy, God bless you again, and God bless America. It's the only message.
Bennett. Ms. Bennett is the first woman to serve on the Murrieta City Council. She's worked hard to bring creative, practical solutions to issues in the city.
Thank you, Your Honor. What a privilege it is to be here and address you today. So, graduates, on behalf of the Murrieta City Council, we offer you our sincerest congratulations on completing this Veterans Court program. And in Murrieta, we understand and we appreciate the value of our active duty military members and our veterans, which you bring to our community, which you bring to our region, and what you bring to our country. The contributions you all have made to protecting our freedoms do not go unnoticed in the city of Murrieta. We recognize you through, as Judge Johnson just mentioned, our Veterans Memorial. We've worked very hard to ensure that future generations understand and remember what has happened on their behalf through the actions of those such as you. We have our honor garden. We also have our Veterans Day Parade. I believe Sai were one of our grand marshals a few years ago, much to our absolute joy. And our Field of Honor, where thousands of flags fly on Veterans Day and Memorial Day to honor those who are with us and those who went before us. We also have our salute to military mothers and military women that occurs every other year, where we gather these fine women and honor their efforts and their sacrifices through family and through their service. We're very active in connecting vets and active duty families with resources to assist the many needs of the vets in our region. And when a fallen soldier comes home to Murrieta, our streets are lined with our community members, fire, police, and our city council members. You will find us standing shoulder to shoulder with our men and women in uniform and their families. And that's the message I'd like to bring you today, graduates. That as city leaders, state and federal legislatures, judicial officers, the court staff, district attorneys, public defenders, the leadership in the VA, law enforcement, Department of Mental Health, and your fellow veterans here to support you. We all stand shoulder to shoulder with you today, celebrating your victory. And not only do we stand with you, but we stand for you. Did you know that even before you started this Veterans Court program, people in very high places recognized you as full of potential and most likely to succeed? A review of this court's admissions process evidences this fact. You were admitted to Veterans Court because the court's treatment teams and the staff liaisons found you suitable. Judge Johnson then evaluated you, and in so doing, he found you most likely to succeed over other candidates. And look around at this courtroom. Look at all the people who are here to celebrate you. All the players in this extraordinary program. They participated for one very prominent reason. And that reason is that you matter. We recognize that you are full of potential, just waiting to be realized here in our community. So today, join you in celebrating these second chances. You should look in the mirror and be proud of who you see. Some folks might view the fact that you darkened the door of the courthouse as a failure, something to be ashamed of. But the fact that you're sitting here today as graduates of this Veterans Court program, that is a great accomplishment, something to be extraordinarily proud of. Because you saw an opportunity, you embraced it, and you made that a success. You should be very proud of yourselves. And I know we are so very proud of you. Back to the idea of failure for just a moment. The most successful and happy people that I know are those people who gave themselves permission to fail over and over again. The difference between those who fail and never succeed and those who fail and eventually succeed is that the latter constantly failed forward. Their failures were in trying new things, in positive things, and pursuing great, big, crazy ideas. With each failure, these folks took something away from it, and they used it to their advantage. And that's what I challenge you to do today. The experience and knowledge that they gleaned from those failures made the successful people who they are today. Without those lessons, the takeaways, they wouldn't have enjoyed the successes that followed. So today, congratulations on taking past failure, turning it on its head, and using it to propel yourselves to a place in which you stand today.